The Vancouver Canucks are having a legendarily bad start to their year. I'll skip the full recap because I covered that in a video earlier today, which I'll link above, but they're the only team in the NHL not to have a win, and they've imploded now in pretty much all of their games. So is it time to fire Bruce Boudreau? The fans are certainly calling for it. I'm personally a bit conflicted. On a personal level, I'll admit I'm biased. I like Bruce Boudreau and I want him to be in the NHL. However, it's also completely clear that the team has just not bought in. Management doesn't seem to be very happy either. Jim Rutherford, the GM of the Canucks, said specifically that they didn't have a good camp and now it's carried over into the regular season. Based on reporting from Elliot Friedman, Rutherford also seemed to be pretty hesitant about Boudreau coming back, and despite fan love for the coach, at least last year, they were thinking about moving in a different direction. However, Rutherford has said it's too early to make panic decisions, and a few bounces in the Canucks could have a more reasonable record. But what can Boudreau do? He was arguably brought in because of a situation like this. The Canucks have a decent amount of talent, and Travis Green last year obviously didn't have buy-in. Star players, especially like Pettersson, seem to be struggling. I'm going to link a cool article from CanucksArmy.com down in the description. It compares the scoring paces of players under Boudreau and Green, and extrapolates that to a full season. Now, admittedly, these numbers were from before the season ended, but it's still an interesting look at the change that Boudreau brought. JT Miller has one of the most dramatic transformations, going from 119 points down to 75 under Green, but we also see really dramatic changes in, as mentioned, Pettersson and Brock Besser. The Canucks also seriously improved their record, with Boudreau almost dragging them to the playoffs with a record of 32, 15, and 10, something that I personally thought was completely impossible by the time he took over. At some point, you can't continue to just add coaches to light a fire under players' asses. Structural issues need to be identified, and maybe what the Canucks need is a full and proper rebuild. Something ownership doesn't seem to embrace, so maybe Boudreau needs to be fired. Not necessarily because he's done something really wrong, but because he's not the right person for the job. And maybe the fact that he won't be fired perhaps is the indication of a greater problem. Those are just my thoughts though. Let me know yours down below.